Us stop talking? No way.
There we are. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I love doing this platform. I think it's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think it's nice to have both of us on and
Yeah. Well, with the way Facebook is, it's tough to not use this, right? Okay. So
let's studio chat. Go to comments. Oh, there we go. Hello, Ashley. Hi. There they're coming in. Janelle Grimm, am I the first comment? Woot. I don't know, Janelle. I think everyone kind of commented at the same time. I'm not sure you won this time.
I'm not seeing comments, but hopefully.
Oh, you have to go because there's private chat and then comments. So where you put your hi was just like to me.
Oh, whoops. Okay, cool. Are you guys watching on the group or are you watching through our Facebook page? I see that we're live on both, so that's good. Hello.
Just filing in.
We're a little bit late. We had to figure out our streaming situation.
Hi, Carrie. Skylar's watching on Facebook page.
Okay, cool. It's working on both. Hello.
Hey, Amy, Julie. Jesse's been updating for 8 minutes. Awesome. Well, should we get started or should we give them a little bit more time?
We are. Yeah, let's just get started and we'll save it to the group so people can rewatch it.
Awesome. Well, you want me to start, Rosie?
We're going to take your questions today. Heidi's going to give you an overall overview of what we are having for you. And then we're going to just take your questions and try to answer as many questions as we can today, because tomorrow members are going to be able to start shopping and then everyone is going to be able to start shopping on Monday for Bare Roots. So I'll let Heidi take it from here.
We're excited. We've been working hard behind the scenes to get everything ready. We have so many Bare Root for you. Lots of fun things that were new to me, that we found all over the place. Things that are near and dear to all of your hearts. Things that are hard to find. We've been sourcing like crazy, so we're really excited to be able to open our shop tomorrow. So I thought what we'd do today, it seems like there's a lot of questions. I'll just give you like a general overview. I thought maybe I'd start with some little bit of Bare Root 101 roses, and then we'll kind of go into like how many can fit into a box, our pricing. We'll kind of go into that kind of later. So I kind of wanted to start. You guys are going to get to see my beautiful artwork. I did just some basic drawings of grades because there's so much confusion around grading roses. So we are going to be offering all of our roses. You will know for sure whether they're own root budded and what grade they'll be. And so I wrote a blog about this that you can read in more in depth and detail on the website. But I wanted to just kind of walk through this and show you what grading means, and so you can make good choices. So the first thing I want to talk about is that it's the American Nursery Association that sets standards for the nursery industry. And so when they set a standard, it's used amongst reputable growers to help make some sort of established guideline to what something is that you're purchasing. And so it's not just like, hi, buy a Bare Root rose, and it could come in like any form, any size, any shape. So that there's some sort of standard by which you can purchase. like any sort of rules with plants in horticulture, there's always a lot of gray area, but I want to just show you what those rules are, and so you understand the difference. So there's actually two sets of rules with grading. So a lot of people think that there's just one set of rules. There's just grade 1, grade 1.5, grade 2. But there's actually two completely separate standards of rules depending upon what type of rose you have. So there's hybrid tea, grandiflora, climber, and floribunda rules, and then there's shrub. And floribunda fits in this a lot of times too. Floribunda is what I call like the gray area. Every grower is a little different where they put floribunda. And then polyanthas have their own separate set of grading rules. So we're going to talk about hybrid teas, grandifloras, climbers, and floribundas first. So there's 3 different grades. There's a grade 1, a grade 1.5, and a grade 2. So 1 is the highest grade, 2 is the lowest grade. We don't sell any 2s at Grace Rose Farm. Sometimes you'll find 2s in like on Amazon or in like 2-packs on big box store websites for like really cheap. And you'll kind of see why. So a grade 1 hybrid tea, grandiflora, climber, or floribunda has to have at least 3 canes that are 5/16 of an inch. And just to give you a visual of what that looks like, I grabbed, it's if you're familiar with Sharpies, I'm sure you all are, it's like the width of a Sharpie. A Sharpie is almost exactly 5/16 of an inch. So it's less than a 1/2 inch, a little bit bigger than a pencil size. So in order for a hybrid tea, a grandiflora, climber, or floribunda to be a grade 1, there has to be at least 3 of those. There can be a whole bunch of other stuff, but at a minimum, they have to have 3 canes. It doesn't matter how tall or how short, they have to have 3 viable canes that are at least like 3 Sharpies. Okay, so that's a grade number 1. Okay, a grade 1.5, which we'll have some varieties on our website in a 1.5 because they're still really high quality. The only difference between a number 1 and a number 1.5 is it has to have at least 2 canes with at least 5/16 of an inch. So that's really the main difference between a 1 and a 1.5. So a 1, a 1.5. Okay. The number 2, what that looks like is you have to have at least 1 cane that's 5/16 of an inch. And then you have to have at least 1 other. You have to have a minimum of 2 canes that's 1/4 of an inch. So some people use a pencil, but a pencil is actually not the right size to show these. So this is a paintbrush. So like a number 2 has to have at least 1 good cane and at least 1 other that's at least 1/4 of an inch. So that's a 2. So let's just review that. So hybrid tea, grandiflora, climber, floribunda, a grade 1 will have 3 of these at least. A grade 1.5 will have 2. And a grade 2 will have at least 1 with 1/4 inch. Okay. Now, when roses go through the grading line, there's literally millions of roses that go through a grading line in a super short period of time at all these very large growers. So you can imagine, are they out there with their little measuring sticks, measuring every, no, absolutely not. They're not doing that, right? They have people who've done this over and over again. They can see it and they grade them very quickly. It's like they do it, they strip them, they look at them, they go on. So sometimes, sometimes there's a little gray area between some of this. But luckily the grower that we're working with is really good at grading. Both of the growers that we're working with. So, that's the rules behind those types of roses. So the interesting thing too is they also have to have a healthy root system. So a lot of times on a grade 1, you'll have a really long and fibrous root system. 1.5, you'll have a very similar, it might be a little shorter, a little bit less fibers. And in a 2, they're usually much smaller, the root system. Okay. And actually, I get asked this all the time. It's funny because everyone in the industry sells what happens on the top, but actually what you're buying is on the bottom. So all of the energy when a rose goes dormant, let me get a marker here. I want to show you this because I think this is important. When a rose goes dormant, it sends all of its energy downward, and all of that energy gets stored a few inches. Some of it will be stored a little bit above the crown, but the majority of that energy is down. So for me, what I look at when I look at bare root roses is like, I never count the canes. Like what I'm looking at is, what does this look like? Is that healthy? Is there a lot of good fibers on there? Because that's the energy that's going to make all of this leaf out well for you in the spring. Okay. So that's why rootstock and roots are so important. But it's funny because we should sell it by the bottom is what my opinion is, but everyone just sells it by the top. It's a simpler way of dividing and categorizing when you have millions of things. Like this is easier to look at. Generally, the benefits between a 1 and a 1.5, as you can imagine, you're going to have more canes, more bud breaks, which equals more flowers. Doesn't mean this one won't get to this or this will get to this and this. It just takes a little longer. So you're buying time and you're buying more energy when you buy a number 1 versus others. Okay. So let's look at the rules for shrub roses. This also applies to a lot of floribundas as well, because many floribunda, when a breeder categorizes a rose, whether it's a floribunda or a shrub, there is really no set of rules between the two, other than floribunda generally has some more petals. It's become, because the breeding has so much crossing, there's so much gray area. They're virtually the same thing. Generally, shrub roses are a little bit more floriferous. A lot of times they're lower petal count, they're higher disease resistance in general. And floribundas are generally a little bit higher petal count, maybe a little bit more fragrant. But in polyanthas, if you're not familiar, those are like pretty polys, or like a fairy is a polyantha, really small, tiny leaves. Okay. So the interesting thing about the difference between these is the size of the canes. The numbers of the canes are the same. It's just the size of the canes. So let me get my other paintbrush. So on a shrub, even a floribunda or a polyantha, for a number 1, you have to have 3 canes that are at least 1/4 inch. So look how much thinner that is, right? If you have these 3 on a shrub and these 3 on a hybrid tea, this one may look like it's a bigger grade, but it's not. It's being graded appropriately. It's really about quantity of canes and the minimum size that they need to be. So they look very, very different from each other. On a 1.5, you need 2 of these. And on a 1, you need at least 1 of these and at least 1 other small bud coming out for a number 2. Okay. So that's the primary difference between the types of roses and the grades. So I'm curious if there's any questions about that before we go into budded versus own root. Because I'm going to show you how grading is different between budded and own root. Someone asked, are potted roses the same as bare root? Potted roses actually are not sold by grade. They're sold by the container size, which is funny because it's directly related to root size, right? So when you flip to potted, you're actually flipping by selling the roots, which is like the complete opposite of what you would think. So in a potted rose, yeah, you'll never see grade 1, grade 1.5, because a really good finished grower, and I've seen this all the time, they can take a 1.5 or even a 2, and they can prune it back, they can flush it, they can get it to bud out, and they can get it to be a big, beautiful bush. A lot of times growers will put a number 1 in larger containers. Like our state roses all have number 1 inputs in them, because we want them big, fast, beefy, and we want big roots in those deep cans that we have, right? A lot of times when you buy a 2 or 3 gallon rose, it's a 1.5 grade input, because number one, the roots will be shorter, smaller, there won't be as many of them, and they can finish a product in the same amount of time in a 2 or 3 gallon as they can in a 5 gallon. And a lot of times number twos in the industry are potted up into 1 gallons as like shifters, and which means like they'll put a 2 gallon in a number 2 in a 1 gallon, they'll grow it out, then they'll shift it up into a larger size and sell it later. It's basically they're kind of finishing the process of growing that rose a little bit further down the line. So that's kind of the difference between when you buy bare root and potted. Okay, so I wanted to.
Stephanie is asking, Heidi, why do bare root sellers often remove the small fibrous roots before they ship them? I rarely see them in any of my bare roots. I don't think anybody intentionally removes them, right?
I have seen some growers do that. Some sellers, online sellers, do that. We will not be doing that.
No, that's bad.
Yeah, you don't ever want your roots cut off. What the reason why they do that is for shipping costs. Because we have ingrained people to believe that the top is what they're buying, they won't cut the top and they'll cut the bottom to fit it into a smaller box so they can offer free shipping or things like that. We have designed a box that we will not have to cut roots off. So our box is a little longer. It's 34 inches long. We have a box that fits 6 in them. We have a box that fits 18. We have 2 sizes of boxes. I know that's been a big question everyone's been hearing about, but we specifically designed it so that we do not cut off all that glorious energy down there, because that's what you want. Okay, that's the thing that's so important. And all those fibrous root systems, you're going to see in a bare root rose, you're going to have like really thick roots, and they're usually like hard and straight. And then you're going to have all sorts of fibrous roots. These ones are anchor roots. They do take up a little bit of nutrient water, but not much. Those fibrous roots are what are going to help jumpstart the rose. It's what's going to absorb moisture. It's what's going to get it going. So super important that you pick growers when you buy root roses that don't cut off their roots. Okay, because that's super important. All right, so I'll flip my board over. Of course, I wiped half of it off because I'm leaning it against me. Okay. So another interesting thing about this is the rules don't dictate anything between budded and own root roses. Okay. And so the interesting thing is when you have let's look at a hybrid tea. Okay. Let's say Francis Mayon as the budded, and let's take a look at an own root one like Raspberry Cupcake. Okay, those are both hybrid tea roses. Budded roses are 2 years old. Own root roses are 1 year old. So there's a whole year difference between these two, but they still abide by the same standards. There's no different standards for budded versus own root. And so a lot of times what you get in a budded grade 1, you'll get huge beefy canes, like the size of like a dry erase marker. Okay, which are way past what it needs to be called a number 1. But then your own root Raspberry Cupcake might look like this. So you can have a number 1 grade rose that's budded versus own root that has very different thickness of canes. That it's the minimum that allows it to be graded. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. You know, so grade 1 is more about the minimum size it can be. And so when you're comparing a Francis Mayon to Raspberry Cupcake, they're going to look like different grades to you. But really, this is the standard, and this just happens to be huge. Sometimes there are people that will sell these as like jumbos. You know, they kind of market them as like something bigger or something more beefy because they way exceed the minimum standards to be called a grade 1. So, that's the difference between, and that goes for everything, right, in this group. It goes for grandifloras, it goes for climbers. Budded and budded number 1s will always be bigger than an own root number 1. Okay. All right.
Heidi, can you tell them why budded roses are 2 years old and like the cycle of starting a budded rose from rootstock, and then also tell them where an own root rose comes from and why it's a year old?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me me grab a marker here and I'll show you. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this budded rose. So budded roses are 2 years old. So the first thing, their rootstock is different than the top. I think a lot of you know that, but in case you don't know. And the reason why this is like this is because there's a lot of roses that cannot be propagated from cuttings very well, very efficiently. Sometimes the flowers aren't as strong. Sometimes they just take forever. It just slows them down. They need like a really vigorous rootstock. And so the rootstock is grown on for like basically a whole year in the ground to get nice and beefy. It has to be able to get big enough to actually bud on. And so what growers do is they actually take the tops off of, like right now, before all the bare root roses are harvested, right now they're taking all of the budwood for roses that you'll buy in 2028. So they're harvesting budwood right now. They'll put them in coolers, and they harvest budwood in the fall because they've hardened off. And so taking spring budwood, you can do it, but it's a lot better to take your budwood in the fall when they've hardened off. They've been outside for a long time. They're tough. They're a little bit hardier. They can withstand the rigors of being cut up and put together more. So right now, all of that budwood's being harvested, stored in coolers, and then the spring, you know, and right now for 2028, all of those roots are in the ground already. And they have to grow, they have to get big enough. And then what they do is they I have a fly in here. It's like, I don't know what it is, but this fall I've had so many flies in my house. But they actually do what's called a chip bud. Every grower is a little different. Some people will do a T-bud, some people do a chip bud. So what that means is, the reason why it's not called grafting is because they literally just take one bud and they cut a little section off of the rootstock and they put that bud in there. Sometimes they'll cut a T and they'll fold it back like a flap of skin and they'll put that bud down in there. And then they wrap it in like a waxy type of tape, and which will help keep it moist and help keep it protected. And then those will eventually grow together. They grow for a whole year like this. You'll get both rootstock and scion material, which is the bud material, growing at the top. You know, Gracie and I had a video where we kind of showed you that, where you could see where it's like, oh, there's Dr. Huey growing right alongside Francis Mayon. They do that to charge the roots because it's photosynthesizing, it's making energy, it's sending more, we're making big, big roots, right? We got to make big roots because that's what matters. And then they'll go through and they'll cut out all that rootstock, and then you'll just be left with this. So that's why budded roses are so big. You're a whole year older, okay? Own root is a much easier crop to grow and a much faster crop to grow. And a lot of testing and trialing is done. A lot of the star varieties are own root. That's what they're kind of known for. Mayon and Cortez roses are mostly own root. And they do that for the purpose that they can bring roses to market faster, because you can literally just take one of these, plant it, and make a new rose in a year in the ground. Of course, it goes through a greenhouse and they create little baby plants, and then those baby plants go to the field and then grow on. But that's the main difference between budded and own root. And you'll see that on our listings where you'll say 2-year budded and 1-year own root. That's what that means. So it's, even though like they sometimes might be the same price, it's so weird. Sometimes it's the same price. Sometimes one's a little more expensive than the other. There's lots of different reasons behind that, but that's basically the difference between budded and own root.
And we talked about in the Better Bare Roots how the rootstock, so our particular grower keeps a virus-free indexed rootstock block. So all of the rootstock that is planted before it's budded onto is virus-free, and his fields are solarized in between to make sure that they stay that way, and that any agrobacterium that may come in is also solarized. And then as far as the own root roses, they are all propagated by just one propagator, right, Heidi, for the most part?
Most of it, yeah. Most of it's one propagator. And
all of that material has also been virus tested and is very self-contained. It's in a bubble, so that, right, Heidi? It's like, it's very, very, very strict on where the material comes from before it goes into the field. So that's why we can say that they're better bare roots, because of the process of how these plants even make it into the field and all the steps that are taken before, from the breeder to the wholesaler like Star, to the propagator of the own roots, to the budwood source, to the rootstock. All of it is done in a way that is leading in the industry, and that other growers maybe haven't adopted yet. But our grower is kind of the grower which every other grower needs to aspire to be, I would say. So
yeah, absolutely. They're definitely the gold standard in cleanliness. Another big part of the reason why their roses are so clean is because they have what's called a clean stock program. And where after so many generations, like, because you're literally taking your propagation material from the crop that you're about to harvest. And so when you propagate off of the same thing after so many generations, sometimes you get a little genetic drift, or maybe sometimes did something get in there, and so you don't want to keep propagating off of it, right? And so the clean stock program actually restarts the entire process from a genetic bank that is held at UC Davis in California. There's a whole bank. The grape industry uses it. The rose industry uses it. It's a place where a grower can always go and get like genetically true plants that are for sure virus indexed. And so that process happens after every third or fourth generation, depending upon the variety. So that's another huge, very expensive step. As you can imagine, if you're growing 10,000 of a rose and suddenly you have to go back to that 2 or 3 plants and get that number back up again, it takes time and it takes a lot of coordination. So it's a big deal that this grower does that and has that program. So it's really awesome, and I think it's really great.
Rebecca, just to answer your question, no, we don't say who our grower is. They love to be behind the scenes type of people. They're amazing. Heidi's worked with them for many, 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 many years, but we just do our very best to represent them and to teach everyone about their growing practices. But they are California, both our finished grower, which everyone knows pretty much who our finished grower is. They're local in California to us, and our bare root grower is also in California. So but that's all we share, because they love to be behind the scenes kind of people.
Yeah, exactly. They're incredible people, incredible family, and they like to stay anonymous. They like to be the farmer and do incredible.
They're farmers, and we're the front, and they're the farmers. We get to teach you. So.
Yep. So the last thing I wanted to show you is like how we talked about how the shrub Floribundas and Polyanthus have a different grading system. So even in budded and own root, there's not a whole lot of budded shrubs and Floribundas, but there are some. Even those are a little bit different. So, a budded rose, a budded shrub rose, because it's a whole year earlier, has to have a minimum, but so does own root. So the own root will be like this, right? So this is an own root shrub rose, grade 1. But sometimes you'll get a budded shrub, like let's take Iceberg as a great example. Iceberg is always offered budded and own root. We'll have it both. You may buy a grade 1 of each, and they'll come looking very different. Because this one's a whole year older, but this one's still a grade 1. This one's just an extra really awesome big older grade 1. So so I hope that kind of helps you understand. So when you're opening your bare root rose box and you see all these different roses, you're like, oh my gosh, I got all grade 1. Why did they look so different? That's why. It depends on if they're own root or budded, and it depends on what type of rose they are. Hybrid tea, Floribunda shrub, Polyantha have different grading standards according to the American Nursery Association. So that's basically own root and budded and grading 101. Is there any more questions about that? Before we move on, we'll talk a little more about our opening.
I think we've gone through most of the questions, but keep asking questions and we'll get to them throughout the way.
So let's talk a little bit about our Bare Root Rose Boutique shop that we're opening. Um, we'll have this incredible landing page for you that you can shop different ways. You can shop by color, you can shop by breeder. Um, you can shop own root versus budded. So if you're really a person who just wants to stick to own root, you can do that. We have a feature in there and a collection of all of our own root roses. Just keep an eye out for, because there are some varieties, like as you're checking out, that might be offered own root or budded. There's probably maybe a dozen varieties that are offered that way. And the only reason why they're offered that way is some people prefer budded over own root. Own root in generally is more winter hardy. So if you're in a zone 6 and lower, I would suggest own root. 6 can do budded for sure. I have budded roses in my yard, but they need winter protection. So just keep that in mind. We're going to have a mix and match sale. So the price range, everyone's been asking what our price range is. We're going to tell you today, and you'll get to see it tomorrow. We wanted to be very cognizant of price. And so depending upon what it is, it'll be anywhere from $47 to $55. So we're going to, with most of them being about $49, our grade ones. But we have some really great deals where you can buy more and save big. So we have 2 sizes of boxes. We have a 6-count box and an 18-count box. And so when you get to 6 roses, there's a discount for 10%. When you get to 12 roses, there's a 12% discount. When you get to 18, there's a 15% discount. And when you get to 24, there's a 20% discount. So the shipping will be based upon where your location is. We just got a great discount through UPS, and we want to share that with you. So shipping is going to be very reasonable for everyone. And it's the same no matter if your box has 1 or 6 or 7 to 18. The shipping is the same. So we want to reward you. So like the more you get, the way cheaper it is. So if you buy 6 Bare Root roses, you're gonna get 10% off. Plus you're buying like 1 shipping label. So just as an example, to my house, it's $15 for shipping. So I can divide that by 6 then, or 5 or 4, then it's cheaper. So we kind of built all of our discounts around filling the box so that to encourage you to help save money on shipping and give you discounts. And another great thing too that is unique to us is that you get to mix and match these. So if you want to buy 3 of this and 1 of this and 2 of this, like you can do that, and you can build yourself up to that discount. So you don't have to buy 3 of something to get a discount or 5 of something. You can simply buy 1. That way you can have a whole garden of color. So
there was a question, and I thought it would be a good one for you to answer, Heidi. And it was from Holiday, and she said, and it's a good one. Where was it? I screwed. Thinner canes, I notice on the own roots. Do they do better if we cut down to encourage thicker canes? And I wanted to say that, like Heidi was saying a second ago, how in the industry, we talk about we sell the tops of the plants versus we really should be talking about we're selling the bottom of the plants, the roots. Well, would you know it that when bare roots are canned up by nurseries, they cut those canes down to about 4 to 6 inches from the graft union to encourage a lots of growth, right? So they're not sticking. So let's just say our partners, Otto and Sons, right? They don't stick these full-size bare roots into the cans with 12 inches of top growth above the bud union. They cut them down to 4 to 6 inches from the soil line, and then they leave all the root, and that's why we have those huge cans, right? So yes, we are going to ship them to you with the full height that they come in, because otherwise people would be like, oh my gosh, they're so short. But in reality, and Heidi will talk to everyone about this, pruning them down and pruning out anything very spindly will help you to push healthy growth out of the thickest, most vibrant, productive canes. So we'll get to that like before the roses start to ship, so that everybody knows what they should be doing, whether you put them in a pot, whether you put them in the ground, how to get them to bud break and how to get them to push the most vigorous growth from the best canes possible. So I just thought I would answer that really quickly. Is that correct, Heidi?
Oh yeah, spot on. It's the exact opposite of what everyone has trained you to do, is what you should do horticulturally. We always used to laugh about this at Star, because we sell the tops and then we tell them to cut everything off. And all the time, if a grower has an issue, and I know this has happened to all of you, like, oh, why isn't my bare root rose waking up? Why isn't it waking up? If you have less energy down here and too many light bulbs up here, think about it. Like, you got to think of this as like your electricity, your power. If you have too many light bulbs up here, it can't awaken them. You've got to make it proportional. So come off and at least to 6 inches. It's going to feel heartbreaking. Don't be heartbroken. I'm telling you, you're going to have a bushier plant. You're going to have more flowers, and it is going to awaken faster for you. When I first started in April, everyone was getting their bare roots and they weren't waking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's because they're 8 inches. That's because they're 8 inches tall. Like, you gotta cut them back and take out all the spindly, and you will get tons of basal bud breaks. You will produce a plant that is like our state roses if you do that. And that is the key. It's the absolute, this and never letting these things dry out, those are the two things that you can do to ensure success with bare roots. Cut that top back, don't cut your roots off, and make sure it never goes dry. Okay, no matter what it is, cut it back. So we're going to do videos on that. I'll show you once we actually have real bare roots in our hands. We'll do lots of videos to show you how to do it, so you don't have to worry about it. Don't ever hesitate to cut your tops back. It is the best thing for them. So any other questions? Let's see, what else we want to talk about with our bare root shop. Oh, somebody asked, like, the trees do definitely come in a different box, right? So we're going to have, most of our trees are 2-year 36-inch. These are big, beefy tree roses, like really nice thick canes. And they're going to come in a larger box that's more expensive to ship, and then we can fit 2 of those in a box. So I highly suggest that you buy trees in pairs of 2, because it's going to cost you the same to ship 1 as it is 2. So buy your trees in pairs of 2 for the best deal. So all the bushes come in their own box. So there's a tree box and then there's bush boxes. So
has the guarantee changed? The guarantee is the same that it's been all summer. So Jenny can drop a link in there, but it's Heidi, do you want to talk about it, or?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So just like our state roses, we have our 1-year Grow with Gracie guarantee. So we guarantee our roses for 1 full year. You can read about all of the details in there that you want, but it's bare roots are covered under that. So, and Andy needs a box of 20 trees. That would be an enormous box.
We're going to be doing to make sure that you're successful with your bare roots is that Heidi and her team, which is another horticulturist, they're making sure that the roses ship to you in your garden at the right time. So last year we let people pick their dates because we were trying to be flexible and let people choose dates, but we had people in very cold zones choose dates that were way too early. And then we had a lot of people, like in Texas, choosing dates that were way too late, right? And so your success rate goes way, way, way down if you get your roses too late or too early for your zone. So Heidi's going to make sure that all the roses are shipped appropriately for where you live. And then I was going to ask Heidi to tell us about a misconception. There's a misconception online that you do not plant bare root roses until after your last frost date. And that is so incorrect. So I'll let Heidi talk about that.
Yeah, I want you to think about for a second, like, roses are perennials, right? They can handle, when they go dormant appropriately, they are weather resistant. The best thing you can do when we ship your bare roots to you is to put them in the ground outside, because they're going to naturally acclimate and they will awaken at the right time. So where there's an exception is if it already started leafing out, which sometimes like when you ship bare roots later in the season, which we're going to shut off bare root shipping season at the end of April because we don't want this to happen to people. Like a lot of times when you get those really late roses that have been in coolers for a super long time, they can, number one, either be really leafed out and etiolated, which means you'll get that like long white growth, almost looks like a root sticking out. It just means it grew without light. And they can bud out after that, but we're trying to avoid all that. We want to ship it to you at the right time. We highly suggest, as long as your soil is workable, that you put them right outside, that you plant them outdoors because they can handle it. They've been in a cooler at 34 to 40 degrees all winter. So they are used to the cold. They are okay. Where it can get tricky is if they're outside and they leaf out and you have a really hard freeze and maybe it was just brand new fresh growth. And sometimes it'll burn that new growth off, but roses are incredible. They will rebud through that. I've had it happen to me a million times because I get bare roots shipped to me all the time when I was working at Star to test and trial in my yard. And it's very cold here in Utah. And so sometimes, depending upon the timing, if I put them out and they started leafing out and we had a really hard freeze and I forgot about it, they would get a little black, a little brown, and then they bud right back out of it. So it really is best to not baby them. Like, it's funny. You should really just cut them back, put them outside, let them come out naturally. You can start them in containers if you want, inside. Absolutely. A million of you do that. I've done that too. You just need to make sure that's when it gets tricky. When they leaf out, when it's warm and toasty and sunny and everything's perfect, and then you throw them outside, that's when they're going to get hit. They have to acclimate them. So it's best to actually put them outside and let them leaf out outdoors. There's a lot about that in the blog that I wrote, like details of like containers and when to do it and when to worry and all that sort of thing. But I would encourage you all to cut it back, put it outside, be patient. Mother Nature will wake them up naturally as long as you leave all that energy down there for less light bulbs. And then you'll get so many branches. So.
And you're just keeping the soil, if you put it in a pot, like I like to say, like a wrung out sponge, not wet, not drenched, you will drown them. So we also saw some of that where people were like vigorously watering newly planted bare root roses in pots and they will drown, especially if they don't have good drainage. So you're just keeping that. I like to say you put your finger down in the soil and it should feel like a wrung out sponge, just a little moisture. That's all they need. So their roots stay happy until they start pushing.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I've never heard it described that way, but that's perfect. Like, because roses can't handle wet feet, right? So if you're going to put them in containers, it's got to drain really, really well. And they don't need a lot of moisture while they're dormant, right? They do need some. You don't want those roots to dry. You don't want to like lay it out on your porch and let it dry out. That will kill it. But Gracie's absolutely right. You don't want to drown them. Another thing I want to talk about too is, and we'll have lots of videos and we'll talk about this, and this is my blog, but fertilizing. So it's really important to note that when a plant goes dormant, the reason why it goes dormant is because it's preparing itself for that cold weather. So it sends all that energy down. It has an incredible amount of energy stored in that root system. It has everything that it needs to wake up. The first task that you have with the bare root rose is to wake it up. It's not to make it bloom. It's not to make a huge bush full of flowers. It's to wake it up. And waking it up is different than your regular kind of fertilizing spraying schedule. So I never recommend any fertilizer at the beginning before you get the leaves completely foliated out. And then you can begin your fertilizer regimen. The only thing I would really recommend is like if you want to use like a root stimulator or a vitamin like a B12 or something, that's okay. I don't think it's necessarily needed. Bare root roses I've never used any of that in all the bare root roses in my time. And no grower has the money to do that, to soak it in root stimulator. They cut the tops off, they pot it, they water it, they let it sit. And when it starts foliating, they'll go and they'll put a slow release fertilizer around it. So because what happens is when you get those new tender root nodules coming out and growing, if there's too much nitrogen in the soil, it can burn them. And then what happens is your tops look like they're burnt. And so people think, oh, it's dried out, I'm going to water it more. And so, but what that actually is fertilizer burn. So it's really important that you just take your time, let it awaken, right? And then start a fertilizer program. So.
What time is opening for members?
The goal is 8 a.m. Pacific. So got a few more things we got to finish up tonight. It's looking good though. So I would check at 8 a.m., but it will definitely be tomorrow. So the goal is 8 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. So East Coast be noon. So noon we should be opening.
And just to remind everyone, our exclusives will not be at this launch. They're not going to come until sometime in November or December. So this is pretty much everything except for our Grace Rose Farm exclusives. And we'll give you ample time to know about those.
That'll most likely happen in December. Okay. So, because what we need to do is, we're going to be getting everything finalized here in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll set up a meeting with all of the conservators and you guys will help us name them. And once we get it named, we're good to go. And that process takes a little time too, because with naming, we have to do trademark search and we need to do our due diligence to make sure that we're not infringing on anybody else's name. So that process takes a couple of weeks. So most likely it's going to be right before Christmas, around that time, that we'll launch our exclusive Bare Root roses. So we'll give you lots of time ahead of time to learn about them and tell you about them. We'll start telling you about them like as soon as all the license work and everything is done. You'll get to see pictures and we'll get to tell you more about them. So
Monday, 8 a.m. Assuming that it opens on Saturday for members at 8 a.m., it'll open Monday for everyone else at 8 a.m. Another question was Super Bowl Saturday. That's funny. No, Secret Garden roses. Those are all potted roses that will be coming in the spring. So we're going to have a break from January through March in potted product because we're going to be focusing on our bare root product. And then we'll resume selling and shipping potted roses, correct, Heidi, in the spring?
Yep.
So we have lots of amazing, I kind of hinted to them yesterday that you have special drops for them every single week coming up between bare root and potted products that they can order and reserve for spring arrival, all kinds of amazing things she's been working on. So Heidi literally has something for you every single week, essentially.
Yeah, once we get bare root done, you're going to start seeing some other really, we've been talking about it, but, we're going to be able to start pre-selling lilacs and clematis and wisteria and all sorts of really, really cool, unusual things, and including some David Austins that are very, very hard to find. So we got a special deal to be able to do it and be able to do it legally. And so we're excited about that. So
we have some really incredible roses coming for you. So, and I love that we have such a great mix. We have this like classic bare roots that we're offering. Is it almost 700 SKUs?
It's almost 750.
Almost 750 bare root SKUs. And then we also have incredible 1 gallons. We have really special stuff coming for the Christmas season that you all would never imagine that Grace Rose Farm would offer. I hope you like decorating your house indoors and out. We're really cool stuff. And I don't just mean cut roses. And then we have amazing Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and like all through spring. Heidi just showed our team what our grower has committed to us for the non-roses that we're going to have for you for pre-order. And then you'll get them at the appropriate planting time for spring. Oh my gosh. Like, anyway, I hope you really love some really unique, beautiful, everything goes with roses. Everything that she's secured goes with roses. So if you love garden roses, you're going to love all the other amazing companions that she's sourced for us. And she just got her confirmation this week. So It's exciting. It's really exciting.
Very excited to see it. That some really cool, unique stuff. So some like Ito peonies that are like, I mean, there's some fun stuff. Some old like Victorian antique type shrubs that are really hard to find. My favorite, I'm just give you one sneak peek because kind of plant geek out on this one. There's very few growers that grow beauty bush, and I have one at my old Victorian house here. It is like the ugliest thing most of the year, but when that thing is in bloom, like it stops people in their tracks, and we're gonna have that. So anyway, lots of cool, fun things. And but first we have bare roots. I think someone else asked about maybe we should talk about how the membership free bare root goes.
Oh yes, I did see that. I saw somebody else that.
Yeah. So, this is your chance. If you haven't become a member yet, now is the time, because one of the biggest benefits of membership is that you get free bare roots. So the way it works, let's kind of review it. So there's, we have our 3 membership tiers. The first tier, the gardener, you get 1 free bare root with the purchase of any other bare root. So it does require the purchase of 1, and then you get to pick out a free one. Of course, the cheapest one will be free, right? It'll automatically figure that out. So if you want to buy a tree and get a free bush, you can, or if you want 2 of the same bush, one will be free. It's just whatever's in your cart, the cheapest one is free. For the collectors, you get 3 free bare root. And with, all you have to do is purchase 1. It's the same thing. The only minimum purchase is buy 1 at full price. And then you get 3 for free. And then our conservator members are the best deal. You get a whole box for free. So you get to choose 6 for free with only buying 1. So if you haven't decided to do the membership yet, it really is worth it. The bare roots almost themselves pay for a large chunk of the membership. The discount brackets that we talked about will work with your free thing. So if you want to buy your 24 bare root, you get the 20% off, and you get your 1, 3, or 6 free as well. So it'll all work together, so that you can. We want to encourage you to try and get as many as you can and fill your box, because something we're not going to do is combine orders later. It is incredibly difficult to do, and we're not going to offer it this year. And so just a heads up, like if you're going to go in and buy 1, you're going to get 1 bare root in a box. So we encourage you to kind of fill the box each time you shop. That's why we made the discount at 6, the best shipping prices at 6. So that way you can, if you need to shop in chunks, then that's probably the best way to do it. But we encourage you to get as much as you can each time you come. So
we made these amounts because our core buyers who are our Facebook group, you all had like between 7 and 20 plants in your boxes last year. Like the general public, they'll order more like 2 or 3, but like a lot of you ladies in our group had these very, very big orders. So that's how we kind of got to those price breaks, was based upon last year's, last year's orders. Stephanie says, do we know what's being released? Yes, they're in the lookbook. They're in the lookbook. So we'll share the lookbook again to the group today, so everybody has it. Trisha says, are there codes for the buy more, get more, or is it automatic? It's automatic. Heidi's programmed it. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything but put them in your cart. If you are a member and you want to get your 1, 3, or 6 free, you need to have that membership discount code. And I think a lot of people are asking about that. I think we might need to send another email out.
Yeah.
Heidi and Jenny, just letting members know what their code is preemptively before tomorrow. So let's make sure we do that.
Yeah, that way you guys don't have to worry about contacting customer service or anything. So yeah, we can definitely do that. We can get you guys your codes again.
And we do have, even though it's a weekend, we do have somebody on customer service tomorrow, kind of filling in on Saturday. So, but just give her a little bit of time to get back to you, but she will get back to you if you have a question. So we have made sure that customer service is staffed tomorrow.
What else? What were we going to talk about? I saw a question up here I was going to answer. Let me see. Let me scroll through.
Everything is released at once, Amy, except for our Grace Rose Farm exclusives and anything that's potted that is going to be only a potted product that is going to be sold this winter or next spring and delivered in the spring. So, but all bare roots, except for exclusives, are being released, not in drops.
We're going to have some fun releases of like hand designed by Gracie bundles that we're going to offer that are going to be really fun. So those will be great deals too. We're going to release those kind of throughout the season, and but everything will be available to you to choose from. I thought maybe you'd talk a little bit about like some of the ones that I would tell you that I know that we are very low on that we can't reorder. So I thought maybe we'd go through that list if you'd like that list. That like if you're gonna snag it this weekend or very soon. Number one, Martha Stewart. We were very, very fortunate to get a decent amount of Martha Stewart. To tell you that the U.S. has the demand for Martha Stewart rose in the U.S. is enormous is an understatement. So Martha, once it's gone, it's gone. One thing that we are doing, just so you guys know, we're only putting like 60% of our confirmed inventory on our website now. And then once we actually receive the product in-house, because the interesting thing is because the grading doesn't happen until they pull them out of the ground, right? And so sometimes they need to adjust our order. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. So that's why we just do 60%. So you may see some restocks in January. And it's not because we were holding them back or like, it's literally just to make sure we don't oversell. So it's possible that we'll have some restocks on a few things in January, but on some of this, most likely we won't. So Martha Stewart, Parfuma Sunrise is the other one, aka Sesame Sunrise. Guys, we literally have like 40 of those. The demand for that is so high because it's a zone 4 hybrid tea that people are just, the demand in the US was so high for it, which I think is hilarious because Otto and Sons introduced that and saved that rose, by the way. The only reason why it still exists in the US is because of Otto.
But we were fortunate to get a lot of that rose. We were fortunate to get a lot of potted product.
Exactly, because they had it. They were the only ones that had it. It was only them. They saved it, they propagated it, they saved it, and then Star decided they realized what an incredible rose it was. And so anyway, that's going to be a hard one to find. Enchanted Meadow. So that's that green one. If you guys remember any of the lives in the past, sometimes I'd have like a little bit of that little green rose. That's from Will Radler. That's very limited. Any of the Brad Jalbert roses, which by the way, he's so nice. He's been sending me photos all day to add to our website. So all of these are directly from him. Very limited. And once they're gone, which is sad. So grab your Brad Jalbert, grab your Martha Stewart, grab your Parfuma, grab your Enchanted Meadow. Trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it. Those are really the key ones. Loves Me Not, maybe another one that there won't be much left to reorder on those. Purple Aura is the other one. That's Gracie and I's rose. We got very few and they're gone. So Purple Aura is the other one. All of the new Weeks roses, all the new Christians roses, like Live in the Dream. We did get a lot, which is wonderful, but they're gone. That's it. That's all that there will be. So we're going to have that says new roses for 2026. It's basically all of those. So, grab the new stuff, make sure you secure that as soon as possible, because most likely there won't be any restocks on those. So
you all need light away. Remember, Heidi, every time we saw that in the field, nonstop bloomer, like literally draped in flowers. Yeah. That one is incredible. Light Years Away and Fashion Forward is amazing too. Has the reverse, the white reverse. Yeah. So fragrant. So fragrant. Light Years Away, Fashion Forward, and Live in the Dream are amazing, incredible.
So, and fragrant. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. We're going to actually be in the field next week, doing some lives, showing you some of these things again, just to celebrate the Bare Root launch. So we'll be doing that from the fields next week. And yeah, trying to think. Is there any other questions?
They're asking which Jalbert roses we have. You'll be able to shop by breeder, so you'll see. We didn't make a special section in the lookbook for the Jalbert roses, but on the website you can sort by breeder, right, Heidi?
Yeah, we'll actually have a little button that says Brad Jalbert. So click on that, and we have 7 or 8 of his varieties, including this new one that it is. He just sent me a bunch of pictures. It is called. I'm sorry, I've looked at so many rose names in the last couple of days. Hang on. Let me scroll. You know what's great about Brad is he's very he loves his roses and he wants everyone to know him. And he's like, I'll ask him a question. And it's like 50 texts later. It's awesome. I love it. He's very communicative.
He's very passionate.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to show you guys this rose. This one is called Jason's Resolve. The ruffles on this, I know in this picture it doesn't look, it's like super ruffly. It's yellow, pink, and it has a button eye. It opens up to a proliferation. Oh my gosh. Let me show you this little button eye here. So cute. So ruffly. Anyway, we don't have a lot of those. You guys should grab that one. The cool thing about Brad's genetics is he's really passionate about testing for black spot. His genetics are really, really resistant to black spot. Even though he's in British Columbia, his grower is on the other side of Canada where there's a ton of black spot. And he's also really passionate about vase life. So if he does the testing himself on vase life, and so if you want long lasting blooms, Brad Jalbert roses are really great. So snag his stuff because once they're gone, they're gone. So. All right. Any other questions? I'm trying to think of anything else. Well, if not, yeah, if not, I'm gonna go get the shop finished.
Back to work.
Get back to work. That's right.
Yeah. So we will send an email out to members with your membership discount code, so that way you have it at the top of your email. We'll try to get that done today, and we will share this video to the group. So we'll be posted on the group. And then Heidi, can you also list in the group a quick list of the 7 Jalberts that we are offering? They're asking. And then also list the ones that are rare, the ones that are going to sell out quickly.
Yeah. I'll do that kind of like if you want it, come and grab it type of list, so that you know what to focus on first if you want to take your time on other things. So.
Yeah. Donna, you said, what are the free roses? The free roses are whatever you choose. So we didn't choose your free roses this year. You choose your free roses. So last year I chose Evelyn and Stephen Rulo and Connie Sandstorm for members. This year you pick whatever roses you want. So if you join, you get to pick either 1, 3, or 6, depending upon your membership level. So yeah, okay. Yes, Holiday, you can search by breeder's name. Yes. So, all right. That's it, I think.
Well, if you guys have any other questions, just let us know. And we're excited. So I hope you guys are excited.
Lots of selections. So we will see you on Monday. We'll be online to answer any questions this weekend, but we will be live at the Rose Fields on Monday and Tuesday. And let us know what you want to see out there. We'll try to show you as much as we can. The roses are very spread apart, as you know, but we'll try to show you as many of the plants as possible. And remember, these are the actual plants that are going to be dug up and shipped to you. So you will literally see the actual varieties that you're going to be receiving. So I think that's pretty cool. So, all right. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone.
Everyone soon. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.